Hi, my name is Sarah, and I make videos about making my own clothes and integrating them into my personal style. If you're new here, welcome. In this video, I'm going to share with you the things that I completed in December and January. There were not too many. Then I'm going to share a little bit about my life and why I actually wasn't able to complete very many things. And at the end, I'm going to share about why I debated quitting YouTube, but in the end, I decided to still come back, and I'll let you know what you can expect from the channel from this year in 2025. And just so you know, I will put chapters on this video so that you can skip around to the sections that you're interested in. So starting off with the things that I made, the first one is unfortunately kind of a fail. This is the Megan Nielsen Dawn jeans. I made them out of a corduroy fabric that I was sponsored by Minerva. I am a Minerva brand ambassador, so they send me fabric for free in exchange for making a project and then writing about it on their website. So I actually started these pants in December, but I did not finish them until January for reasons that I will get into in the second section of the video. But just some general details on these. I think that I made a size 6 at the waist and graded to a size 4 at the hip. I made the straight leg view and the cropped length, which kind of ended up being just shy of full length on me. I did make a muslin first out of some corduroy fabric that was in my stash, and I'm really glad that I made a muslin because I ended up having to make quite a few adjustments. I have sewn this pattern once before. I made the shorts, but they were not very successful and that they didn't fit me very well, so I actually reprinted the pattern and started from scratch on this pair. So after trying on the muslin version, they were very, very tight in the thighs, so I had to let them out quite a bit. So that led to me going back to the original pattern and adding some extra width both on the side seams and also at the inseam so that I have a little bit more room to breathe in my thighs. However, I did go a little bit too far, so I think there's a little bit of extra space on this pair in the back. So under the seat, it's a little bit baggy and wrinkly. So if I were to make this again, I would actually go back into the pattern and shave off a little bit of that extra that I had added on just on the back only, because I don't think that I need all that fabric back there. Besides that, I actually think the fit of these is pretty good. However, the reason that this was a fail is because of the zipper. So I think that you can see this here, how the zipper just kind of pokes out. And again, for reasons that I'll get into in the next section, I just wasn't feeling my best when I was making these. So I really don't know if I just followed the instructions incorrectly or what happened, but the zipper basically just always wants to poke out here. And when I wear it, it kind of looks like my fly is undone, even though it's not. So for that reason, I don't really feel comfortable wearing these outside of the house. So they're strictly sort of an in the house kind of garment. Now, I may eventually get the urge to go back and try to fix these. But just for now, for those of you, I'm sure that a lot of you have really good advice, but right now I'm not looking for advice. I just want to not think about these for a little bit. So I'm probably just going to put them away. And then if I do decide to get them out and try to fix them, at that point, I will ask you guys for help on how I might be able to do that. So a little bit unfortunate that these were a fail because I do really like the color and the fabric is very soft. I will say that it was kind of difficult to work with because the wide wale corduroy, even though it's not a stretch fabric, it had a lot of give and it kept wanting to shift around. So it was not the easiest fabric to work with. But in the end, I was able to get a pair of pants, and although they're not perfect, I feel like I'm at a pretty good starting point with this pattern if I want to go back and revisit it in the future. The next garment that I have to share, this is the Green Style Creations flare leggings. This was my second time making this pattern. I also have a pair in black. These I made back in December, and it only took a day or two to make these because this is a really easy pattern. It does come with the option to add pockets, but I did not add pockets on mine because I don't need them because these are just loungewear. The reason that I made these is because the black version of these pants, I wear them all the time around the house. They're just incredibly comfortable, and I wanted another pair. So I decided to use this white nylon spandex fabric. I think I got this from Surge Fabrics. It was in my stash. I only had a yard, but I was able to squeeze it out. The only thing about my black pants that was a little bit not quite perfect is that they were a little bit too short. So this time I went ahead and I added, I think, 1.5 inches onto the pattern that I had used initially, which means that from the original pattern, I think I shortened them about 1.5 inches. I hope that makes sense. It probably doesn't. So the thing about these pants that I was not expecting is that because they're white, they're extremely unforgiving. So I think I took a couple of quick snapshots, but they're not the best pictures because I feel a little bit self-conscious wearing them. Like you can see all of my little lumps and bumps. So for that reason, this is strictly going to be an around the house garment, but that's actually why I made it anyway. I just made it as loungewear. I'm not really planning to wear them outside the house, and they do serve their purpose. They're extremely comfortable. I have worn them several times since I made them in December. So overall, I'd say these were a success. They serve the purpose of what I wanted them for, and that's the most important thing. Oh, and if I remember correctly, I think I made the size B on the pants, maybe grading up to a C at the thigh. That's probably what I did. The other two projects that I completed were both knitting projects. This is the Sticky Toffee Cardigan by Vera Valimaki. I bought the pattern on Ravelry. The yarn is Valley Yarns Northampton. This was actually knit, or it was crocheted into a baby blanket that I was never going to use. So I went ahead and frogged the yarn and turned it into this cardigan. I think I started this cardigan in November or maybe even October, I can't remember, but I finished it in December. I did make the smallest size. This is a raglan style brioche cardigan, so very, very easy to make, but it does take forever because the brioche stitch, just the nature of it, it's very slow. So it took me quite a long time to complete the sweater. I have worn it a couple of times since I finished it, and I do really like it. It's really, really warm and cozy. It did turn out to be a little bit more snug than I was expecting, but I actually think if I really wanted to, I could go back in and re-block this. I could just soak it and then stretch it out a little bit more to make it bigger if I wanted to. But for now, I'm just kind of leaving it a little bit more snug. It is kind of a nice style of cardigan that you can wear it as a top if you want to. So maybe having it be a little bit more form-fitting is good for that. But I can also wear it open as a layer too. And then the last project that I have to share are these, I think they're called the Arios socks. It's a free pattern that I found on Ravelry. I made it out of a skein of Madeline Tosh Twist Light that I had purchased over the Black Friday period. I really wanted a pair of bright red socks that I could wear with things like loafers or ballet flats. And I really love this bright pop of red. I've also worn these a few times since finishing them. I like how I chose to do the lace pattern just on the leg and then I just have a plain foot. It adds a nice amount of detail without being too overwhelming. I knit these on a size 0 needles, one at a time from the cuff down, and then I did a wedge toe, and this is just a regular heel flap and gusset. So those are all of the projects that I finished in the months of December and January. Like I said, it's really not that much, especially considering at least the sweater that I had started it prior to that period. And so if you are a returning viewer, you might be wondering why I wasn't very productive, because normally I make a lot more things than this in that kind of time frame. So there were two primary things going on in my life, and I'm just going to get the negative one out of the way first. Over the Thanksgiving holiday, I was exercising and I pulled my calf muscle. And so that first time, it really wasn't that major of an injury, but then I proceeded to pull it 2 more times over the month of December. And so a big chunk of the month, I was in a fair amount of pain. I couldn't necessarily walk that well. And so I didn't get a lot of crafting done because I actually spent a lot of time in bed, like not moving too much. Also, even when I started to heal and get a little bit better, I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that I got pretty depressed. Now, I do know that I am extremely fortunate, or I have been up to this point in my life, that for most of my life, I've been pretty physically healthy. I don't take that for granted, but basically, I just say that in order to explain that when I do get sick or when I do injure myself, I don't necessarily cope with it very well because I'm just not used to things being difficult for me or not being able to exercise or doing the things that I like to do. So during December, when I kept re-injuring my leg over and over again, I just did get really down and feeling really blue. And I didn't necessarily feel like doing anything even when I actually physically could. So that's why my production went way down. I was just kind of sitting around watching a lot of Law and Order on TV and not necessarily wanting to do a lot of crafting. Fortunately, I will say that I'm back on track now. I'm doing physical therapy and my leg is still not completely back to normal, but I'm definitely on that path. So I am extremely grateful for that and trying not to take my health for granted going forward. But the end of the year was particularly difficult for me, so that definitely cut back on my wanting to make new things. The other reason why I was less productive has more to do with a mindset shift. So this year in 2025, I decided that I'm going to do a low buy year. Now, I'm not going to talk about my low buy year because I just feel like that would make this video way, way too long. But if you're interested in seeing more about that, like my reasoning behind it and kind of the rules that I've set for myself, let me know in the comments because I am thinking about making that video. But I'm not sure how much interest there's going to be from you guys, so just let me know. But yeah, even though I technically started my no buy in January, I really actually started it around mid-December. That's when I started doing a lot of research on the topic and just watching a lot of different videos and making my own ideas and plans. And I really stopped buying things around mid-December. So I think some of the reason why I haven't been super motivated to sew, I've basically lost my sojo, but it's not really a negative thing. It's just that right now I don't feel the need to bring new things into my closet. And I don't really think that that's bad. So I'm just going with it. I am still making things, but I'm kind of taking it really slow and just doing a little bit, a few steps at a time, and then stopping when I feel like it. And I don't feel this urge to just churn out all of these new things constantly. And I think that that's actually a very positive development, but that's another reason why I have not been as productive as I was in the past. Now, this last part about why I considered quitting YouTube and not coming back to social media at all, I had a pretty long time to think about it. And I really hesitate to talk about it on this channel because I don't want it to seem like I'm ungrateful or that I don't appreciate the people who watch my videos. I do. I absolutely appreciate every single person who tunes into my video because I know there's lots of options out there. But there are just certain realities about having a YouTube channel that kind of wear on you after a while. And so after thinking about it for a while, I think that in order for me to continue with the channel into the new year, I need to make some changes, and I will talk about those in a little bit. But definitely just some of the general things that I've been feeling about YouTube. It does take a lot of time to produce these videos. I do need to cut back on how much of my life I'm pouring into the time that I put into the channel. Just a little bit too much in terms of having like a good work-life balance. I mean, I consider YouTube as a hobby. It's certainly not a job, but that's kind of part of it. Like for not being a job, it was just taking up way too much of my time. So I need to find ways to cut back and make it a little bit easier for me to produce these videos and to deal with the channel. So I do apologize that if in the future, like the editing's not as crisp or the videos are not as frequent, but that's kind of the steps that I need to take in order to keep myself going. The other thing that was really weighing on me about whether I wanted to continue the channel is that because I'm doing the low buy, I don't see myself producing as many new things in this upcoming year. And so I asked myself, do I even have any content? Do I have anything to talk about? Why am I making videos? If I'm not making new things, who's going to watch this? But ultimately, I came down on the side of I really do feel like I have something to say still, even if I'm not producing new things all the time. I do still love my handmade clothes and I love integrating them into my personal style. I love finding different ways to wear them. And even though my styling videos have never really done that well on the channel, I still really enjoy making them. And I feel like I do have something to add in that area, even if it's not the most popular. So I actually have decided that for 2025, I'm going to make the kind of videos that I would want to watch and hope that my audience sticks with me. But in order to kind of preserve my sanity, I'm going to stop looking at my analytics because I need to stop obsessing over whether a video is a hit or whether it's a failure and just like focusing way too much on the numbers and the metrics and just make the kind of content that makes me happy and that I feel adds value to the community. Even if it only ends up being like 3 people who watch the video, I have to be okay with that. So in 2025, I will definitely share the things that I do make, but there probably is going to be a lot of other content that's more about styling what you already have. And I'm also not going to force myself to produce a video every single week if I don't have a really good idea. If I don't have something to talk about, then there's no point in forcing myself to make a video. If I don't really have something to say, then I don't need to be bringing you a video every week just to do it, to be on a schedule. And the last change that's coming to the channel this year is about comments. Now, again, I'm not trying to sound ungrateful. I do really appreciate getting comments. I do love that sense of community. I do love talking to you guys, and I feel like I've made some real connections. But at the same time, the comment section does weigh on me a little bit. Some of it is just having to answer the same questions over and over and over again. And like, I do get that like new people come and go from the channel all the time. And so it's very natural for them to have those questions. But it does kind of weigh on me over time, having to repeat myself. I don't know if maybe I need to put like an FAQ page on my website or something. I don't know. I got to think about that. But that is one thing that does kind of get to me after a while. Another thing is that I admit it's a personal failing that I'm overly sensitive sometimes. Like 99 people could leave a really wonderful, nice, uplifting comment, and then one person will write something kind of, and it just makes me feel really bad. And I'm just the kind of person that dwells on the negative comment, and sometimes it can stick with me for days. And that is my own problem, and I need to work on myself. But in the meantime, I need to just find better ways to deal with those things when they come up. Then the last thing that kind of gets to me that isn't even really about negativity per se, it's just that certain kinds of well-meaning comments do start to drag me down a little bit. And a lot of that has to do with people who are giving well-meaning advice, but that isn't really welcome advice. So I'm a very short person. If you're new here, I'm only 4'9". I'm very petite. And so I've been on this earth for over 40 years, and I know all of the rules and advice that short people are supposed to wear or not supposed to wear. Like, I've watched all the videos, I've read all the articles. So it's not that I'm unaware that something that I might be wearing in an outfit isn't flattering. And so if I am wearing something that doesn't flatter my frame, there's probably a reason behind it. So just to give you a concrete example, big bags. I'm aware that as a short person, when I carry a big bag, it looks a little bit comical. It's not proportional to my frame. It would look much better if I carried a smaller handbag, but at the same time, if I'm carrying a big bag, it's because I need it to hold my stuff. And so I don't necessarily care if it's flattering or not. And so it's comments like that where somebody will just drive by and say like, hey, that bag is too big for your frame. It's like, I know that, but I need this bag to hold my laptop. And I know that that person is trying to help me, but it's things like that that do kind of drag me down over time, where it's not just the one comment. But when you get 2 or 3 comments like that on every single video, it just starts to feel like people are constantly criticizing my style or saying that I don't know what I'm doing. And as I get older, I just care less and less about what the rules are or about what I'm supposed to be wearing. Sometimes I just like to wear certain styles, even though they aren't flattering on my frame. Like chunky shoes. I really like chunky shoes. I like the look of them. I like how they're a little bit edgy. I like how you can put them with something like very feminine and that little juxtaposition. And I know that they're not necessarily the best look for me, but I just like them. And so I don't really appreciate it when somebody comes by and says, your outfit would look a lot better if you weren't wearing those chunky shoes. So I also did some reflection and realized that I have been guilty of this too. And I made a pledge to myself that going forward, I need to be better as a viewer and a commenter on Instagram and YouTube. If somebody's wearing an outfit and they seem perfectly happy, but I don't think that they look their best, I don't need to say anything. Like, I wouldn't go up to someone at work and be like, those shoes totally don't match your outfit. It's not like they're asking for my advice. If someone is asking for advice, then I think that you're open to criticism and you have to be accepting of what people say because you did ask. But in other instances, if somebody is just posting a picture on Instagram of like their outfit of the day, there's no reason why I need to go in there and make them feel bad about themselves because I don't think their outfit looks good. Because in the end, my opinion doesn't matter. It's how the person feels in their own clothing that really matters. So moving forward, I just do want to be better about that myself. I'm not looking to control people's thoughts. Like, obviously, sometimes I do see people's outfits and I don't like it, but I don't need to share that with them unless they're specifically asking me for my honest opinion. So moving forward, what I've decided to do in regards to comments is that I'm going to limit comments. Like, basically, I don't want to close discussion completely. I do like having conversations with you guys. So when I post a new video, I'm going to leave the comments open for 1 week after the video is posted. And then after that, I'm going to close comments and then just not accept anymore. Because another thing that happens, I forgot to mention this, but like sometimes people will leave comments on videos that were from like a year ago. And to them, they just watched it, so it's fresh in their minds. But to me, it's like a conversation that I had a year ago, and I might not necessarily even have any idea what the person is talking about, to the point where I'd have to go back and watch the video to figure it out. And unfortunately, I just don't have the time to do that. And I also, again, this is a problem that I need to work on, but if I don't answer that person's question, I feel really guilty about not answering it. So I think the best thing going forward is I've already shut off comments on older videos so people can't leave comments anymore. And by limiting new comments in the future, I just think it's going to be a little bit more approachable. I can still have interactions with people, but also there's a time limit. And so I'm not committed to this forever. And if as a result my channel becomes less popular and nobody wants to watch anymore, that's okay. Like, I'm still making videos for the people who do want to engage with my content. Like, I can learn to be happy with a smaller audience who's really into the things that I have to say. And since I'm not looking at my analytics anymore, how would I even know if people like it or hate it? So I'm not saying that all of these things are set in stone. There's always room for me to grow and change a little bit as we go. But this is what I'm going to try in the beginning. And I do hope that you will come along on this journey with me. But if you've decided that this is the end of the road for you, I do completely understand. And I do appreciate all the support that you've given me over the years. But as of right now, I'm really excited about this new opportunity, this new chapter that's opening up. And I already have a whole list of ideas of new kinds of videos that I want to make coming up in 2025. And I do hope that you will decide to join me. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And I hope to see you in the next video.